Okay, welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast. Today I have Kyle Bergstresser.
You have Kyle Bergstresser.
I do.
I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds like a diagnosis.
It's terminal.
Yeah, but it's going to be fun on the way.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. I got all three of the free New York Times games. Nailed them today.
Oh.
You know, like Wordle, Connection, Strands. Are you doing these?
No.
Okay, well, I did them today.
Wait, is one of them just a crossword?
No, Wordle is you get a five. I'm glad you asked. Wordle is, you just, every day there's a new 5-letter word and you have 5 chances to guess it. And I got it in 3.
Is it like a jumble or?
No, there's just blank spaces. And you try the first word, whatever word you can think of. What you should do is do the word aired, because you get 3 vowels out of the way. And also an R and a D, which are in a lot of words like at the end. That's the best start, but you don't have to do that. And then from there, it'll tell you which letters you got, and it'll tell you if the letter you got is in the right space or not. And anyway, I got it in 3, which is it's the number one way to get it. Because if you get it in 2, if you get it in 1, that's just luck. You didn't earn it. You just got crazy lucky. That's cool,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean anything. If you get it in 2, that's basically luck, and then a tiny bit of skill, but mostly luck. But 3 means you got it from just pure skill. 3 is the ultimate way to get it.
3 is the real number 1.
Wordle heads will completely agree with me on that, and if they don't, they're stupid. And I bet they're never getting it in 3. And then there's 3 free New York Times games that you can play if you have the app. The other ones you have to buy a subscription.
What are the other 2?
Connections, where there's 4 different sets of words and you have to decide like how they're related to each other. And sometimes it'll be like, it'll be simple, just like zipper, button. It'll be like, different ways to close a clothing item. But then sometimes it'll be like Jameson rum and a bunch of things like that. And I can't think of any other examples. And what will connect them is just that they all have a person's name in them.
Oh.
And it'll be like the first half of a sports team name plus an S will be part of a word. Sometimes it's really stupid and you're mad.
Yeah.
But today I got it, no mistakes, and I got the strands, easy, no mistakes. Like, you don't know what this means, but to me, do you do this where you let a tangible thing like that tell you if you're going to have a good day?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay. That was my thing today. I got the New York Times games all clean, about as good as you can get them, and so now I'm allowed to have a really good day.
But okay, so I'll say it to myself when I'm doing something,
Yeah.
like I'm going to get good luck from this,
Yeah.
but then I'll completely forget that I did it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it won't affect
like as soon
the
as
rest.
something goes wrong, you forget. You're like, no, but I'm having a good day. I'm good.
Like, I would just be doing it while I'm playing the game in the morning, and then I would, if you asked me later that day, are you having a good day or a bad day? I'd be like, I forget how the outcome was.
Yeah.
But it would bug you. Like, if you didn't get it, you'd be like, I fucked up my day.
I would just be like, oh, great, we're having a bad day now. And you're right, I might forget about it and just end up having a good day, but at least at the time, I'll be like, that's my indicator. I don't do like tarot or astrology or any of that stuff. I just, whatever task I did, I'll play a game, I'll do a thing like that, and if it goes well, I go, okay, good, we're having a good day.
I do astrology,
Okay.
and I'll remember that. I'll be like, oh, this is the, like, foreigner that I'm gonna run into this week.
Astrology does that? It tells you you're going to run into a
It'll
foreigner?
tell you.
They got to update the terms on astrology.
Oh, no. We still need to know about foreigners.
Okay, all right. The stars are telling you to look out for a foreigner. Are you doing the like Trump official astrology app? Where are you getting this?
No,
Fox
but it might
News
be
sponsored.
like the foreigner is going to bring like good luck into your life.
Sure, it's just the use of the word at all would make me a little suspicious. I get it though. Hundreds of years ago, they were like, a mysterious foreigner is going to.
And they would have things like you'll curry favor with the king, or like there was a lot of just like, because there's also like old school astrology is just like a lot of bad omens, and like this could indicate like falling into slavery.
Yeah. Is there not an updated version that knows
there
about phones
is.
and stuff?
More a lot of modern
and that
astrology
we don't do kings anymore?
is more psychology based, so
Yeah.
it's more about like what are the dynamics of your personality.
Yeah, if I was going to get into it, I would need it to be that type. I'm like not. I'm more spiritual than not. I'm not very science based. I actually don't really like when things are really like rigid and defined. But there's something about astrology I just can't. To be honest, I've never properly looked into it, but it just feels so much like everyone's hearing what they want to hear. It feels so, and like I've seen it work on me. Someone will be like, well, you're a Cancer, so I mean, that means you're like very open-minded, but also like you can be a lot of fun, and also like you're funny and you make friends easy. And I go, oh yeah, I am like that. It's like, of course I want to be like that.
I think the way I try to do it is like, it'll make my life feel more mystical.
Yeah, and I am always looking for that. Yeah.
And I think there's different ways. Like, I think even just to say, like, I'm going to try to see magic in everything. Like, without coming to sort of any set way of things.
I think I do all of the things that you would think like, I think the exact same way as a person who's into astrology, just that specific thing hasn't grabbed me.
Yeah.
But I've always been the type of person, I just was talking about this in therapy, that I hate when something is fully defined. I don't like when something is like I think some people that calms them. They like to, like, my older brother is very scientific. I know a lot of my brother's wife, actually my older brother's wife too. They're all very like science based, and they really like to have something like defined down to a point. And I hate to know what something is. I hate to like, do you know what I mean? I don't like when a joke is finished. I liked it so much better when it was just an idea that could be anything.
This explains to me your comedy style. Because it is a bit like you're telling these stories, but you're going on a rant, and it isn't kind of like, here's the punchline that I do every time.
Yeah.
Like
it's like I am doing that, but I don't want it to feel like I'm doing that. One time Sam Tetzo said, it was like kind of a compliment and kind of an insult and kind of something else. He was just like, hey man, I really like your stuff. I'd love to see like an actual polished set from you. And I was like, you've seen like 5. He's like, no, but I mean one where you like do like, you know, like jokes you've done before. You're not just riffing. And I was like, no, everything you just saw, I've done 100 times. But I do want it to sound like I'm just riffing.
Yeah. And I have, like, because I think I've seen you do the same bit. And so I've seen like, okay, there is consistency in it. It's a journey you go on.
Yeah.
But it has so much originality each time.
Yeah, I hope for it. Thank you. I try to do that. I want it to. I think the thing is, you'll see that even from a comedian. Like, you'll see them do this new bit at an open mic, and it just like crushes. And you can tell it's one of the first times they tried it. That idea still means something to them. Like, it's not coming from their brain. They're like feeling it in their gut, and they're like letting it out. And then you see them do it the 4th or 5th time, and you're like, oh, you lost it. The magic is gone. And I've always like, that always bums me out so much, and I'm like scared I'm gonna do that. So I'm always like really trying hard to be like, I never fully get it all the way written down in words. I only do bullet points, and I do this crazy thing, or one person told me it was crazy, and it really got in my head that maybe it's crazy, that I will try to write, or at least remember where I was and what I was like smelling or what I was watching. I just try to sense memory it to some degree, to be like, I don't want to try to remember the words. I want to try to remember like how that thing feels to me, so that I can let it out again, so that it feels more, I'm connecting to the overall idea, not like I say this, then this, then this.
Yeah.
Even though I am going to try to hit the same beats on the way.
I was reading something on Ben Howard, who's a singer that does really emotional, sad music. And he was saying, like, sometimes whatever inspired the song, he's so far away from it, it doesn't have meaning for him, but he'll try to get into some newer aspect of his life that evokes the same feeling. So he is always like performing it from the feeling of the song. Getting into a certain vibe. I think it's harder because, like, with a story, you're thinking of that story because it's like more so than a song, which can be kind of abstract.
Yeah, a song you can apply it to so many different things, whereas in the stand-up you are basically doing what a songwriter would do if they were explaining the story behind the song. Yeah. You're telling the story, so you can't really repurpose like where it's coming from. What I do is when that starts to happen where I disconnect from it, I put the joke away for a while. and then it'll come back and I'll be like, I might not be as passionate about this as I was like 4 years ago when I wrote it. But now that I haven't done it in a while, it's like fresh to me again, and I can reconnect to it. And as soon as I start to lose it again, I just go, okay, I'm not doing that I put it away for at least a couple months so that I can, maybe I can't connect to the whole idea, but I can kind of feel it again because I just like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so more about your family, because you mentioned two older brothers.
Or I'm the middle. I have a younger and an older brother.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and no sisters?
No. My mom has said more than once that she wanted all girls. And the only reason that she had a third child was she was really hoping for a girl. She stopped saying that at a certain point. I think at a certain point, she's like, oh, I maybe shouldn't tell my kids that. Like, we always laughed about it, but also, on some level, you're like, okay, I'm sorry. Even
if your kids aren't sensitive, kids are sensitive to what their parents say. So I feel like I would straight up lie. And I would say, like, I knew you guys were always coming. I knew your names.
Yeah. No, we wouldn't buy that. And I mean, to be fair to her, most of the time she would bring that up. It's like when we would refuse to stop farting at the dinner table. You know what I mean? Trying to like one up each other, or just, we really like to have like a running bit. Whatever we did that seemed to bug my mom, we would then take turns doing it more and more and acting like we were done and then doing it one more time.
No.
Sometimes it was a fart. Sometimes it was jokingly pretending we hated the dinner even though it was good. Like,
no.
I know, it's really bad. It's really bad. I would never do it now. If I saw a kid doing that, I would hit him now. But when I was doing it, you didn't think of anything other than like the bit and how funny it was to like ratchet it up.
Did your mom kind of like respect at all your sense of humor or share it, or were you just pissing her off?
No. She would find us funny, but then it's like that's not as funny as when you can take it so far that she's done with it now. And then now that's escalated it, because you always want the church laugh. You want it to be funny in a way where you're not supposed to laugh anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes, again, just like I was such a selfish little shitty little kid. I just didn't think at all, even fully into my teens, I didn't think at all about. It's not fair to say I didn't think ever about other people's feelings, but it wasn't crossing my mind a lot. I was just like, what's the funniest thing to do or say right now? That's all that mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think all kids are very selfish in their own way.
Some aren't, and wow, good for them. But yeah, I don't hold a ton of guilt about that. I'm just saying those would be the moments where my mom would be like, I wanted girls. They wouldn't do this to me.
There is a bit more conscientiousness. Like, I remember my sister telling me, like, her kids were little and her daughter told her, like, when she goes to the bathroom in the middle of the night, she doesn't flush the toilet. But she's like, I don't want you to think I didn't flush the toilet. She's like, I don't want to wake people up.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's like, it's nothing, it wasn't a diss to her boys. She's like, they would just never have that level of thinking about how other people.
Yeah. And they would also like pee standing up straight into the middle of the bowl, splash it all around, make a lot of noise, get piss all over the toilet seat, never think to wipe it up.
And then not flush just because they forgot.
Yeah, not flush because that's not their job. Mom will do that. Probably, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't. When it comes down to it, I do not blame my mom at all for some days just really wanting girls.
How does she feel about you doing comedy?
You know what? Both my parents are like, I think they probably wish I was making more money and had a more like stable, consistent life. But they're very supportive. I don't think they get it all. I don't think there's a lot of my comedy where they're like, okay. I always hope that if they see me, they've come to a lot of my shows and they've seen some good ones and they've seen some bad ones. They've never seen me like absolutely blow it up, knock it out of the park. I've always liked for them to, because my style can go really bad or really good. And, everybody can have a medium set, but there's some times where I'm like, that's as good as I could ever do. I'd love for them to see that once just so they could be like, okay, so I don't like those jokes, but I see now that there are people who do.
My favorite set that I ever saw you do, we were in, but it was very much like my experience of it. Like, we were in the basement at the old comedy lab, which is a kind of claustrophobic environment for me.
Really feels like a basement.
And I have had periods of my life when I wouldn't even go into a room like that. So it was, like a place where I could feel that tightness certain nights. And you were doing a bit where you were talking about Mitch McConnell, who had some health problems where he would like freeze up.
Yeah.
And I found like as you were doing this bit, it was like very stressful, but it was also very funny. And then it like I got carried away with it, so then it was just pure funny to me. And so it was like very cathartic. And I was like, that's the best example of like this genre of comedy.
Yeah.
But I can understand, like, if you missed the mark, I might have been like, oh, and that was the night I had to leave Comedy Lab because Kyle was upsetting me.
That's funny, because I think I remember the bit you're talking about, because a lot of it was about how we're all going to die one day, so it's really hard to watch an old person be so old. I don't do that bit anymore. Oh, and it was kind of about, it was because it made people feel existential.
But that's why you have to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
didn't you even tell me that it made you uncomfortable? Or maybe I just remember your face being like, I don't think Karen likes this at all. That's funny to hear that you were enjoying it.
But there were parts of it that I wasn't. And I think that's the whole thing with building tension. Like, you can't cut tension unless you built it. So sometimes... And, like, a common thing would be, like, you start to say something that might sound like you're going to be offensive.
Sure.
And then you go somewhere else, and then people laugh hard. But if you don't want to, like, play with that first part, which you have to be kind of brave to do, then you don't get the second part. But you could also have someone tell you to fuck off just in the middle of the setup.
It could absolutely happen. Or you cut the tension and they don't agree that you cut the tension. I have a joke where I can stretch it out longer or shorter, where... I'm not going to get into the details because out of context, it hints at incest for a bit. It makes it sound like I'm talking about incest for a second, and then I clarify that that's not what I meant. I meant something else. And I can clarify it 2 seconds after I bring it up, or I can stretch it out for like 30 seconds, sometimes even a minute. And on certain nights, I just feel like being shitty like that and just seeing how long I can stretch it out. Because I've stretched it out for like a minute and then had people laugh really hard at like, oh, that's what you meant. But I've also had nights where I stretch it out and then I reveal that I didn't mean that. And they're like, I don't care. I don't agree. Like, I still feel tense. I don't like that you made it seem like you were going to do incest for so long.
Yeah.
The payoff was not worth it for me. And I'm not going to laugh at anything you say from here on out. And then I maybe got a little less brave with it. Because I was like, oh yeah, thinking about being on the other side, if I saw a comedian enjoying that I thought he was going to have sex with his own family member. For that, because to me, it's not. I don't find that concept funny as much as I just find the concept of like the judgment in people's faces is what I like about that. I think I don't like comedy that makes you come off cool. I think that sucks. I go ahead and do it, and like it's valid and people like it. But when I watch comedians who are like, whether they are or not, like metaphorically wearing a leather jacket up there, eat shit. Like, why would you do art to come off cool? Why would you have all the freedom in the world, you could do anything. Like, be embarrassing and stupid and take big swings. And I love watching people's faces while they're like embarrassed on my behalf, almost like begging me to stop. You know what I'm doing, like a real big swing kind of bit. I love watching that, and just like, God willing, what I hope to happen is that when it does pay off, they'll realize like, oh, you can be embarrassing and it'll still be okay. You can... Yeah. A lot of times what happens is it either doesn't pay off, or it's like they laugh, they enjoy it, and afterwards they're still like, oof. And I'm like, you laughed. You liked it. You have to admit that was funny. I get that you don't think I'm cool. I don't need you to, but you have to admit that you laughed. Like, my dad would watch a full Will Ferrell movie, laugh his ass off the whole time, and then be like, that was stupid. Because, like, a guy his age can't admit that if a guy was being stupid to make him laugh, he can't say that guy was funny. He's like, no, I was laughing at that man. He's a fool. I don't think Anchorman is funny. I think Anchorman's a joke, and I laugh in his face.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that sort of stance to comedy sometimes, where if the person doesn't seem in control, if they're not like a cool... narrator rising above things, talking about them as though they understand it all. If they aren't in that perspective, people can't admit that they found it funny because that'll make them an idiot or something. They can't
Yeah.
laugh at an idiot because then they're stupid too.
Yeah.
You're like, no, you can.
Do you find too, and I don't think you really do this kind of material, but some people will be talking about like how they were toxic in a relationship, and they're kind of talking about their moral failure,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be funny, but then people are just mad at them for being like a shitty girlfriend or something, and it's like, well, that's not really what we're doing here. Like,
Yeah.
they're not saying, oh, it's good that I did these things. They're just saying like, it's funny that I acted that way because it was a failure.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
now we're
yeah.
laughing at it.
Yeah, it's I guess it depends on how good they are at clarifying that they don't agree with this behavior. Or how clear it is that they're like, because some people will retell that and be like, oh, and it sucks that I was this way, and then gleefully tell the story with like so much guttural laughter that they're like, and I feel so bad, and then I told my bitch girlfriend to get down there and clean it up. I shouldn't have said that. Boy, I used to be bad, but they're loving it.
Yeah.
It depends how much remorse they seem to have about what they did. But yeah, there are definitely people where it's like, no matter what, if you're describing bad behavior. I used to tell a story on stage about a really bad thing I did in grade 3, and sometimes people would come up to me after and be like, that was fucked up. And I'm like, I know, I was 8. The gist of it is I pissed my pants and blamed it on my friend.
But it probably strikes a nerve because they're not over some things they got blamed for.
Sure,
and
yeah.
I kind of respect sometimes, like, some people are just going to hate you.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell a story about, like, you know, you were buying a Mother's Day gift and they're still just going to be like, I can tell this chick doesn't really like her mom and I fucking hate her. And it's just like, you just can't win sometimes.
Oh, yeah. You definitely can't make the focus to win over 100% of the audience. That's never going to happen. There's absolutely people just coming in with baggage, ready to hate it. I remember one time, really, because I think about this all the time, and you're like, how do you crack that code where sometimes just like a room is off and feels weird, and like, how do you, I want to like crack it without watering down my material and making it more like palatable. Like sometimes when you do like an out of town show or just a show where there's not like the audience isn't super into comedy, sometimes you have to add a couple sentences onto your jokes and like broaden them, and that's fine, but I prefer to just do them how I really like them. So it's like, how can you crack the code on an audience so that you can still do it the way you like, but just loosen them up? Like, can you say something to be like, guys, we're having like chill,
Yeah.
we're cool. And I remember the closest I ever got to it was at Comedy Bar. There was a pretty full room, but there seemed to just be something happening from the back of the room. I could tell something happening near the front in like the second or third row. And I was like, I wonder what it is. And when I got up there was like 4 hot girls, and they were, and just picture hot girls, it's them, you know, like 2 blondes and 2 black hair and like whatever, just like really the most classic hot girls. They're very cool.
In a hot girl formation.
In a hot girl formation, and they've been hot for a long time, and not like that. It worked for them in high school, and it's still working for them now, kind of thing. But when I got up there, I was really surprised because 3 of the 4 hot girls were having a great time on their face but wouldn't laugh, but they were smiling. They were like stifling their laughter even, and I was like, that's so weird. And I tried to power through for a minute, but I was really, the whole time at the back of the room, I was like, what is happening? And when I realized it was them, I didn't even have time to overthink it. When I was like, do you guys know you can laugh? Like, I was like, isn't it crazy that, how old are you? And they said they were like 26. I was like, you're 26. And all that was happening was the one girl in the middle had her arms crossed and was like, we don't like this. She was like letting the group know we don't like this. And I was like, I bet if you had to say that out loud, they'd be embarrassed that they were letting this girl tell them what their sense of humor is. And I was like, are you not laughing because she's making you feel like you can't laugh? She's not the boss of you. You're grown women. Laugh at this. It's funny. You can laugh at it. And that kind of made them laugh. And I'm not saying I like commit like it was a miracle and I'm the best and whatever, but it worked for a minute. And I was just like, oh yeah, that happens sometimes.
I think sometimes like there are people who just, it's a weird line though, because if you kind of call out someone in the audience who's not laughing, it can feel like, well, why are, like the same thing when you say like not everyone can like everything, right? But like it's a weird thing because I feel like there are comedians who will really like scold someone or humiliate them.
Yeah,
and then,
that's,
which is, and I think some people do that because they like to, but I feel like even as a good comedian who doesn't have ill will, you do sometimes need to like shock the audience by like, but the art of doing that in a way that's funny.
There's like 8 ways to do it wrong. and one or two ways
Yeah.
to do it right. And they change based on the scenario and what's happening. Yeah. It's like, don't do it because you have some pent up anger and you want to take it out on someone. Don't do it because you're doing a shitty job and you want to blame the audience even though it's your fault. Don't do it. Like, there's so many reasons not to do it. It has to be just like, you have to have correctly diagnosed what the problem is and call it out in a way that doesn't make the whole crowd think you're just insecure, or, you know what I mean? Because you have to seem like you know what you're doing up there too.
Yeah.
If they think you're just panicking and you're just like, you're all stupid, I'm funny, you just don't get it. Like, that's not going to make the room like you.
I've also seen people who start to, like, they think the audience thinks what they're saying is offensive or isn't funny.
Yeah.
But it's really something else. And I'm like, no, it's like...
Yeah, like you forgot a line. You don't realize you forgot a line from your joke, and now you're blaming the crowd, and now we're all so embarrassed for you.
Or sometimes it's like the venue is off, or
Yeah.
like the comic before you, maybe you're like the first person who wasn't phoning it in, so you just have to kind of like acknowledge like some weird shit's been happening. What was up with that last guy?
Yeah. Some shows you go up there and do like a really tight, like perfect album ready version of your set, but everybody's been really chill the whole time, so you actually come off fucking insane. Even though you're doing your jokes were on the right night in the right venue, that would be what makes it totally crush. But you're coming up sounding like a keynote speaker when everybody else has kind of just been like, what are you guys doing? What's your deal? And it makes you seem insane. Even if they could like that, it's like, you got to ease into it. Like, that's, yeah, you kind of got to watch the show to know how you're supposed to get up there and do it.
Do you do a lot of crowd work?
No, I don't like it. I can do it. I'm not great at it. When I do it, it happens by accident. Every now and then I like ask a question on my way somewhere, but as soon as I ask it, I'm kind of like, I don't care what the answer is. Like, tell me, and then I'll move on. I'll be like, anybody else not have kids? And people say, yeah. And I go, okay. And then I keep going with my joke. I don't, to me, I just get bummed out right away where I'm like, I just feel like I know there's like 5 ways it could go, and I've seen them all, and none of them are that interesting to me. Like, it's so unlikely that this crowd work scenario is going to be more interesting than like something you thought of and have worked on. And
yeah,
if you have an actually good bit, it will be better than anything that happens with crowd work for the most part. There's people who are really good at it, and I'm so jealous of them, but it's not. Yeah, I don't even like want to be good at it. I'd like to get a little better, but it's not top of my list at all.
I feel like for me, crowd work is for the host, and I'll do it if I need to, because the room has sort of devolved into a crowd work show.
Yes, I get weirdly I get asked to host a lot, and I do not think it's something I'm great at. But I will do crowd work then, and I just kind of have to.
Well, you're high energy, so I think people assume.
Yeah, they put me bullet a lot, and they make me host a lot. But I am not. I'm not like likable enough for either of those positions. I think host needs to be super lovable and just like affable and natural and just come off kind of cool and casual. And you can do any style of comedy, but it's you have to have your jokes so memorized that you can go seamlessly from conversation with the crowd into your jokes. Whenever I host, I just end up talking about the bathrooms because I like can't think of, I don't know. I'm like, I have to do some house stuff off the top. So I'm like, tip your bartenders, exits are there, there's bathrooms over, and I always get hung up on the bathrooms and just like I just tell them that there's multiple bathrooms and they can go pee in one and poo in the other and blow their nose in the other. And as I'm doing it, I'm like, what am I doing?
There
Why
is
am I
actually
saying
a
this?
lot of good material around bathrooms because of the whole like gender neutral.
Sure.
Or like there's one venue, it's Teddy Beer has like bears as the gender signs on the bathroom, but they don't make sense. Like one doesn't look like a girl or a boy, so it's like a weird guessing game.
You have to like have gone to school specifically about bears. You have to have gone to like a zoology course that gets into like North American animals to be like, oh well, because of the head shape and the neck tilt, that's a female, obviously.
She's presenting herself.
Yeah,
for
that's
mating.
really funny. Yeah, well, like a rounder lower body is indicative of a male grizzly bear, so obviously this is the men's bathroom. Yeah, I think a lot of comedians have a ton of bathroom material because that's where you go to be nervous before your set. That's where, yeah, I have like 20 minutes where it's like, you'll ever have diarrhea before a show and notice that there's never the right kind of toilet paper in these stalls. And everyone's like, no, we're not comedians. Sorry, stop that.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny to
It
me
is
that you
amazing,
say
thank
you're
you.
not likable, because I would have said that you are, but maybe it's because you're likable as a person in the scene, and I forget maybe like what you're like the first time I saw you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like both more and less likable than I think I am. I think I'm fun and good and whatever, but life has taught me that I'm like an acquired taste. My trajectory with people is I can make a good first impression. I will, and then as you get to know me, I will inevitably get on your nerves and be a little much because I'm just always having off days, and I could get like anxious and say way too much. A bit of an over explainer. My favorite kind of like life bit is to be really annoying, unfortunately, and that's I mean, it's by nature not fun sometimes. So then I will like cross over, and then what happens is people go, oh, Kyle, ugh. And then with that low expectation, the next times they see me, they go, no, he's not so bad. And that's where I land, and that's where I need to be with people. But that's always kind of my circle that I go around with people. There's times where I get up on stage and I can be likable. What I have to do as a host is lean into being like chaotic and not have a plan. That's why I always end up talking about bathrooms, because my trick is to not plan much. I plan my material, but I don't plan the first 3 minutes. I go, you got 3 minutes where you have to just start talking. And maybe I'll go to an old thing I've said before, and maybe I'll come up with a new thing. And then I just lean into like, I'm inevitably going to say something stupid I shouldn't have said, and then apologize for it, and then explain it, and then that'll be embarrassing, but in a way that hopefully they like. And then I'm like the lovable idiot, and then that's what we ride all night. And then the comedians look better because who's this dipshit? Get him off here so we can have another comic on stage. That's my like method for hosting, because
I feel like of all the comics in our scene, you're the most likely to get a sitcom after you because you function like a sitcom character.
you think?
Like
oh,
where
no.
you drive your own problems.
Yeah,
so you
that's
make
true.
a problem and then you try to fix it, but you make it worse.
Yeah.
Like all you need is like, okay, what job or like life is this character in? And then there's your, it almost writes itself. And I feel like most like sitcom writers could just watch you do one set and be like, oh yeah, I could write for this guy.
Yeah, and how come that hasn't happened yet? Where are all the sitcom writers at these stand-up shows? Why can't they just do that for me? That is what you dream of when you start comedy. You're like, and someone will just see me and put me in something and just be like, I gotta make a show about your life. Yeah, I wonder.
Think you have to pitch it.
Yeah, I guess so. Pitch it that I'm like, it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, but you never agree with Larry David. Imagine Curb Your Enthusiasm, but you're always like, imagine if Larry David was in the wrong every time. I guess he kind of is.
He is.
Yeah, okay,
sure.
all right.
But people like him anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I have the thing he has. I like that you think that, but maybe. Okay, yeah, I'll pitch it. I'll say you said.
But where, like, what would this guy do?
For a living?
Is he a comedian, or is it like he's...
I think there have been enough shows about a comedian. I think that well has
What
run
are your
dry.
hobby? Like, what are, like, worlds that you belong... Like, I know you host trivia. You like games.
The thing is, I do not host trivia because I like games. I realized I had a trivia night just handed to me, and it was just... and then I was working a job I really didn't like, and I realized if I did a few more trivia nights, I could quit my day job. That's all it is. I'm not a trivia person. I never go play trivia. I don't like that type of thing. I do bad at trivia. When I'm at a party and people suggest playing a game, I'm like, okay, I'll do it, but it's begrudging. And I generally have fun by ruining the game, or at least like playing it a little bit wrong on purpose.
When you're hosting trivia, do you ever fuck with the game?
Kind of. I lie a little bit while I host. Like if I always ask questions about an animal, and then I say that the animal had a name and it's a fake name. And usually it's a list of like 7 fake names. It's stupid. The one I hit the most is, it's not that funny out of context, but I'll like Vicky hold my hoops Carrozza. And I just, for some reason that's funny to me that she's like a girl who fights. Like hold my hoops like I'm taking my earrings out because we're going to,
Oh, okay.
I don't, it's really stupid.
No, that's,
or I'll just say that it's like a like the name is Fart. I do things like that, I guess. Because it's funny that you're kind of just intrinsically, you trust the trivia host to tell you the truth the whole time. And I throw the odd little lie in just to see. Oh, and then I make up a whole back. Like sometimes I ask about the price of something, not sometimes, every time. And I'll make up a reason. Usually I make up a wife who just left me and I'm trying to get her back. And it's just by buying her the most expensive novelty t-shirt at Walmart. That's the backstory.
I think your show should be called Kyle Could Do Better. Like, you know how like you could do worse, but it's like, this is a guy who could always do better.
Yeah.
Like, because he's just doing little bits of fuckery throughout his day. Or something like about you not acting right.
Okay. I actually thank you for getting it to a place that I can digest, because I'm bad at taking praise. So to say that like I'm so interesting I deserve a TV show is hard for me to hear, but to be like, because you like kind of suck, I go, thank you. Now we're in a place I can kind of consume that. Thank you. I'm able to take that in now.
Now we're workshopping.
Yeah, this might be something.
Okay, there's a few things that I want to ask you about. I want to ask you about growing up in small town Manitoba, but I also want to ask you about your album. Where do you think we should go first?
It's your show, honey. Hit me.
Okay, but also I want to say, just to put this out into the universe, I think you're hosting a trivia night is very smart, and I think maybe I should find someone to host like a dating show with me.
Yeah.
Or something like trivia or dating where I can get my own revenue.
You mean to be like filmed, or you mean like put on speed dating events?
Like to put on events.
Yeah, you should. There's people doing that in the city, but I don't know how like oversaturated. I bet there's room for it. There's so much trivia, and yet you can still make a trivia night happen. So I'm sure, yeah, do it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking on the dating thing. Okay, but enough about me. Small town Manitoba or your album? Did you record your album in a small town in Manitoba?
No, I did in Toronto. I did it at the Second City. I went full big. City's in the name.
Amazing.
It was the opposite of a town. Yeah, I went big city mode. I did it at the John Candy Box Theater.
That's a cool venue.
Yeah, I really like it. It was cool to be able to say I'm doing it at Second City. I think people who don't know that you can just rent that venue think like, oh, it gives some legitimacy. It's a little bit out of the way, so I think some people that might have come didn't come because it's just hard to get to, or people think it is. It's actually not.
It's downtown, but it somehow feels like it's in like another part of.
It's because it's right across the like lake or garden or whatever. It's and parking's weird there, and then it is in this big building where you have to go up like 2 sets of escalators. It is kind of hard to get to.
You can get there from the path from Union because I took classes, but. To learn the path is very hard and mysterious.
Yeah, you don't want people learning the path on the night of your recording.
Yeah, it won't make it.
Hoping for. But it's a cool looking venue. It's what I didn't realize is I should have done what some other comedians have done, like Dan James, Sam Sferezza. I think when they did it, they kind of decorated it a little bit.
Oh.
I don't have the foresight of a gay man to think like, oh yeah, I should make it my own. I should like, because now I see other people posting pictures and video in front of the exact same red backdrop as my album taping, and I'm like, that's mine. For a second I'm like, hey, no, that's my thing, you can't steal. Yeah. But it's not at all, of course.
And it's a very powerful, like I always,
it's a real striking thing.
Recognize it because a lot of people have done a lot of people have performed there and have it online, and you always see right away like that's and now I need to go look at Sam's and Dan's to see how they.
Yeah, Dan went more all out. I think Sam just did. I'd have to look again, but I remember thinking the same when I saw both of theirs, being like, that's really smart. I did not think of that at all. I was so stressed about just purely the material going well that I didn't, and I just am also not an aesthetic person. I didn't think of that side of it at all. I didn't know that I was going to use the footage. I do plan on using the footage for something now, but I wasn't thinking of that.
But your main thing was to get the album, like to get it on the radio.
I was thinking of it as just a pure audio thing, and then when I finished, and I was very happy with it. I was really lucky not lucky, but my hope was, and it went exactly how I planned, the first show is as good as I could plan for it to be, where I don't flub anything, and it's a big crowd, and they're hot, and they're into it. And then the second show, I can do whatever I want. And that's exactly what happened. so it turned out great as far as like an album goes. And the second show, because I was really happy with the first show, I probably riffed an extra 10-15 minutes onto the second show, and almost, I'd say 80% of what we used was from the second show. Even though there was less people, first show was sold out, which is I think 60 people in there. I'm not sure. It's not a big venue. And then the second show was like 40, 45, like still pretty full, but definitely less. But they just were so much more turned up. I think it was a 9:30 show, so they were like a little drunk, a little fun. And so we used almost exclusively stuff from that. Even though there was a bigger audience, that when I did get a big laugh, it sounded way bigger on the other show, but there were so many more laughs leading up. It was just the kind of crowd that's like laughing at a setup that's like really there for you and into it. And then I feed so much off of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's so much, you're so vulnerable that night to like
Right.
the fate and time. Like you
Yeah.
need to consult the stars.
No.
But you didn't. So
I didn't consult the stars, and it worked out. I just prepared. I just really prepared. I was really nervous leading up to it, and then I was really hung up on. There was just this chunk that I just couldn't get sorted out. I was like, it's funny, but it's not exactly how I want it to be. I can't remember now. It might have been the whole Mitch McConnell thing. I can't. It might have just been, which is more about aging than him. He's just like an example in the thing. Because then I have some other aging material, and I was like, oh, great, that knocks out 15 minutes. And then I just realized, I was like, how about instead of doing an hour, you do 45 or 55 with riffs, and then just drop this chunk that is stressing you out so much. And as soon as I did that, I was like, oh, I completely know what I'm going to do now. And then I was way more relaxed, and I got to spend the 3 months leading up just like booking myself headlining spots to run a 30 to 45 minute set.
So you totally took out the existential aging.
Got out of it. It just wasn't.
Does that
wasn't
become
hitting.
its own thing?
Well, yeah,
Because I felt like that was so, and that speaks to like my biggest fears are existential, right? Like,
yeah.
do I even exist? And like,
sure,
that kind of. So I would love for it to find a life somewhere.
I think I'm gonna try to bring it back. Yeah, you know what's funny? I'm thinking about it, and maybe I'm like implanting a memory. I'm not just saying this. I'm pretty sure a big part of why I threw it away wasn't the first night I tried it, but at the lab there, I think your face along with the general reaction, I was like, this shit's not working. It's making people feel weird. I didn't realize that I was putting people through so much.
But do you know how like there'll be like a dark comedy night, so if you have a lot of really vulgar stuff, it's not that it's bad, but you can't just take it anywhere and have people want to go into that. So maybe it needs to be on like an album of terror. And that's like, you get like a bunch of more alt comedians together to do like, let's do our upsetting stuff.
Yeah, not dirty comedy night, but upsetting comedy night.
Like death. I don't know what, like, I'm trying to think stuff that's away from the typical vulgar comedy, but that's just like, I think a lot of people have stuff about grief that could go in there.
Yeah, I don't have any material about grief, but I have, other than I guess the self grief of like everything that you think makes you will fade one day. Which is kind of that's what that chunk was about. And I just was like, you're going to need years to get that to the point where it's funny enough to justify how like unpleasant it is. And I was just like, I'm not going to get it there by February when the recording was scheduled. So I figured, I was like, it'll go on another album if it goes anywhere. Maybe I totally throw it out. Because parts of it are just silly. Parts of it are just like, the gist of it is that I don't have a lot of like patience. Like I have really built my whole life and mentality around the fact that like my body works. Like I can run up and down stairs, and I can like hop a fence to take a shortcut, and I just never think I should have to wait. I can jaywalk because I'll just run. I'll like look out and just run across an intersection because I don't want to have to wait. And like one day I won't be able to do that, but like, am I ever going to get my mind to the point where that's okay?
Yeah.
Or am I always just going to be like, ah?
And I think that's what a lot of young people don't understand about aging, is that that is a lot of aging. It's like preparing yourself mentally to decline.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. And like, are you going to, And nobody tells you that you have to like do internal work to gain the patience, which I am, but like for the sake of the bit, it's not taking. I'm trying, and I'm like, I'm not changing as much as I should. I feel like the body's going to break down faster than the mind catches up with that. I'm at least going to have a decade where it's like a real struggle. You know what I mean? Where it's like your knees go and your back. I got a bad back. It's starting. Yeah. I can't.
But they say like there's a process within aging where it's like, you reach a point in life where you can't really make your life better because like you have to retire, so you can't improve your finances and your body starts to decline. And then people hit a point that's really negative.
Yeah.
But then they become happier after that point. Like,
yeah, because they find some internal thing. They realize they're getting way too much external validation or whatever. What they thought was joy was just like stimulus. And the problem's only going to get worse now. Everybody's just chasing dopamine more than they ever have. And what's that going to do to like dementia?
There's so much that our world can do externally. Like in older times, we would have already had to accept it a lot because the material world wouldn't be fulfilling us. But we've lived in like the best material world of all time.
Sure.
And been able to like fly across the world and like do all these things.
Yeah.
But now it's gonna be, you still have to go old, and
you still have to go old. You are gonna go old.
And I think for those of us who have like some neuroses, it's like that extra like incline.
Yeah. That just the fear that because it's not, you can even be like, well, yeah, my body's not, I'm not going to be able to play my favorite sport forever. I'm not going to be able to have that outlet, but like, I'll always have my mind. And it's like, no, you won't. That starts to go too. And that's where it gets a little scary. And honestly, I think that's part of the reason I have to be a little spiritual. Because I'm like, there's something else. There's got to be. If it's just your mind, that's scary. Anyway, none of this is on the album. I don't get into any of this type of stuff. I promise.
It's much more fun.
What's
the album called?
It's called You Gotta Get Used to the Boy, which is about that concept where like I'm maybe fun at first and then you get sick of me and then it comes back around. It's about that's a bit on the album that like being from a small town. We're kind of covering both because a lot of the album is about being from a small town, and something that a big part of that I didn't realize I was benefiting from is my town is like 1,500, 2,000 people. So you're going to see everybody all the time. You're going to spend enough time with everybody that even if you find somebody weird, you also see all their redeeming qualities because you have to get to know them. There's no not getting to know them. And then living in a big city, I didn't realize like, oh, if someone doesn't want to get to know you, they won't. And if you don't immediately give them a reason to want to get to know you. And I was like, oh shit, nobody taught me to do that. Nobody taught me to make a good first impression and just like sell myself.
Yeah.
I was just like, I am annoying. And I am going to just like go off on a tangent that maybe doesn't come together sometimes. And I am going to maybe dominate the conversation whether I should or not, which is, by the way, stuff I'm working on. But I like didn't realize how much I probably had to work on it until I was living in a big city in a big comedy scene. And I was like, oh, I can't just be insufferable time after time and have you eventually see what's good about me. Like I'm going to have to figure out...
I still think I rely a lot in life on the idea, like, well, I'll win the long game.
Yeah,
like,
no, absolutely, me too.
People will know me over time, and I don't know how to...
No. I don't think I'll ever learn that skill of just making the perfect first impression. Like, people who can go meet a celebrity and make the celebrity like them... Oh my God, no. I've tried to meet a few celebrities. It's never gone good. I now make a rule. I was at Comedy Bar and like Stavros Halkias and Matt Johnson were there, like the Nirvana the Band the Show guy and Stavros the like big comedian. Big fan of both of them. And my immediate feeling was like, oh, I gotta go. Cause like I of course have some part of me that's like, oh, I want to go meet them. And I was just like, I just know the odds are like 5% that I will make a good first impression. And 95% that I will do or say something that makes me come off so fucked that I'll think about it for 6 years. So I'm leaving Comedy Bar. I left shortly after that.
Especially like with with Stavros, because like if you've, like I'm not a huge fan, but I've watched his podcast. So I have a feeling like he's my kind of person and we'd get along. But then that would make it so devastating, like if he didn't like me, as opposed to like someone you like because they're a good singer. You might not Like,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
think he was gonna like me.
And you don't even really know who they are. You just know they're a good singer. But with a comedian,
Yeah.
they've shown you so much of who they are. Anyone with a podcast. It's so weird how much we know about celebrities now. And then you go in with that psychotic mentality. And like, if you've ever been on the other side of it, it does feel crazy where somebody just immediately is like, well, me and you get it. We're like the same type of guy. So it's, you know, how we see the world the same. And they're like, sorry, I don't fucking know you. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
You're talking like we've been friends for years and I just met you.
Well, it's weird
You like
if
come in too
someone's
familiar.
seen you do a set, and I do sets about my life, so
Yeah.
then they know stuff, so they feel comfortable around me. But I'm like, but they either didn't do a set because they were pure audience, or they're a comic who does like one-liners, and I'm like, there's an uneven, like, you have lots of information, I have very little.
Yeah, and then somebody comes up and goes like, boy, you're socially like bad, huh? And you're like, okay, I can say that. You don't need to tell me.
Yeah, like anything you've said about yourself feels to them like it's on the table.
Yeah.
for
And you even
about.
forget, you're like, that's so just a joke to me. I forget that it's even like information about my life. And now I feel like naked, and I don't like that you know that, and you're like using it. Don't talk to me about that. Don't, even though I said it into a microphone, like that's still too private for you to talk to me about. I don't even know your name yet. And you're talking to me about my dad or whatever. Yeah.
Do you talk a lot about your parents on the album?
No, not a ton. A little bit. I have jokes that like reference them lightly, but not a lot. I only talk about my dad in a very brief thing where I pretend he has a secret gay relationship for like 1 minute. I don't like to do a bit where the joke is supposed to be more about my small town being vaguely homophobic, but I just like pretend and I did it in front of him once and he found it funny.
Are you going to have to apologize to anyone, including your entire town, when this album comes out?
I have to tell my family my parents and aunts and uncles that they can't listen to it because of a joke about my grandma that just goes to a place. It's not like mean or cruel, and it's what I always... My stand-up is closer to sketch comedy than stand-up. It always eventually just becomes a whole fake story that I tell. There's a point where I depart from reality, and at that point in the joke about my grandma, I make up a version of her that isn't real, and it just gets bad. I guess I'll have to do an apology if any of my aunts or uncles on my mom's side listen to the album.
Oh my God.
My cousins will get it. My cousin's parents, I don't think will get it because I'm also talking about their mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I'm talking about my grandma. And again, it's fake. It's not even really about her at a certain point, but it is a little bit fucked. I thought about not putting it on there. Yeah. I don't think of myself as like a raunchy, filthy, or like dark comedian, but only because I'm not talking about real things. Only because generally I'm departing enough from reality that I go, it's a cartoon, so it doesn't matter now that it gets
And I
crazy.
feel like I remember you do a bit about like coming from a small town, being in a big city, and then feeling like you're going to be exposed.
Yeah.
But then it's like I feel like I get the moment that now you're just in your own thoughts.
Yeah,
and
because
it's
I say that
not
a crowd
about-
forms around me and says, not from here,
Yeah.
that one. Yeah. I like to think, I think about this a lot. I'm not, because I'll go off on a rant if I get into it, but I think there's a fine line, and I hard disagree with, I think it should be so obvious that you're lying. I think it should, if you do start lying, it needs to be just abundantly clear that you're lying. You don't have to say this part's not true, but it should just be...
Yeah, there's a level
Yeah.
of like hyperbole
Yes.
that's obvious.
To where it's either funny because it's true, and then it better be true, or it's funny despite the fact that it's not true, and then it's fine that it's not true. But if you tell a joke that would only be funny if it was true,
It better be.
and it's a lie, but you make sure to convince the audience it's true even though it's a lie, I have such a problem with that, more than I should. It really grinds my gears.
Yeah, it's cheating.
So many comics do it, big name comics. I think and then when I talk to other comedians about it, they're always like, it's not that big of a deal, who cares? And I go, it is. And my stance is even, you do agree that it's a big deal, but because I'm like, the way that I'm putting it into words just sounds so neurotic and over analytical that you're just kind of like, I just want to stop talking about this. I just can't care on the level that you do. But I think just like feelings aside, philosophically, it's like, yeah, if it's not a good enough bit to get by on its own merit as a true story, throw it away. Wait till you have a better observation. Wait till a more interesting thing happens to you.
Yeah.
Don't manufacture. And if it is going to be where what you do is you heighten it to the point where it's funny, then the audience should be able to completely understand that it's fake and still laugh.
Yeah.
But if you're only getting a laugh because they believe it's true and it isn't, you blew it. Just throw it away. Wait till a better thing happens to you. Okay, I did go off on a rant. I knew I would. I can't start that without going off.
Was there, like, what was the moment you knew that you were ready to record an album?
I mean, I should have done it a while ago. I should have done the moment for me was that shortly after lockdown, or when we were sort of half locked down, I was just like in a good mood. I was walking from a different show, and they used to do those outdoor shows by the Toronto Music Gardens, in the Toronto Music Gardens. I'd done one of those, and I was walking home, and it was really nice out, and I was just listening. I'm in my 30s, so I listened to all my music, downloaded hard files on a VLC player. So I was on shuffle all, and all my voice memos are in there too. And in 2018, I went and did just like my first ever like full hour set. So that was after like 5 years of comedy-ish, somewhere in there. And I recorded it just as a voice note. And I feel so stupid. I was at a venue that easily could have just, with 2 presses of a button, professionally recorded it. And I just was that made me anxious. So I said, don't do that. Like, they gave it as an option to me. And I was like, no. And then I listened to the voice note, and it was bad quality, but I really liked the set. I normally, when that would come up, I would skip it. But I was in a great mood. I had a little buzz on, and it was beautiful out. And I was like, sure. And I listened to it, and I was like, oh, I'm so mad at myself. Because, like, this was 2022, so 4 years had gone by. I just didn't connect with that material anymore. I wouldn't have been able to do it the same way. It was so much altier than I am now. Like, at one point, I thought it was funny. I pee a lot, and I was like, what if I have to pee halfway through? And I was like, oh, I should just build that into the set. So I built in that I was going to start a fake, really hacky joke, and then go, oh no, I have to pee, and like panic and run off stage. And then I got the sound guy, who was also a comedian named Tyler Katowski, and he started doing some like really hacky out of a joke book material from the mic. I was like, act really panicked, and then just be like, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll keep you guys warmed up. And so he did some jokes, and then I came back, and then I freaked out at him for trying to steal my spotlight. I was like, this is my night. You don't get my laughs. This is my crowd. These are my fucking friends. These are my people. And apparently a bunch of the crowd thought it was real laughter. And then I got everybody to get up and sing that Michael Jackson song about the River Jordan. You know that one?
Oh my God, yes.
Hold me. Yes. I like ended it on that, which I don't think you could even put on an album, but I was like, wow, I was going nuts. I started in character, and then was like, just kidding, that's not really me. And then went into another character, and there was like, just kidding. I did 4 characters back to back off the top, and kept saying I was going to be myself. And then I was another guy. Anyway, and I just listened to all that, and I was like, oh, Winnipeg puts a lot of humility into you, and it can be good, but I think it goes too far sometimes. I'm really glad I started there. I'm really glad I came from there. I think Toronto has the opposite problem, where some really untalented people are very confident here. Some of the time, there's so many great comics here, but that's also an issue. But that Winnipeg humility made me think it made me think I was being cocky to have recorded an album 5 or 6 years into comedy, and it's like, that's enough. It would have been a sloppy, weird album, but there would have been some real gems on there that I was really proud of. And that got the wheels turning, where I was like, okay, well, I don't want to feel that again. Yeah. I don't want to have another era of my comedy go unrecorded. And that's a full hour of jokes that most of them I never will do again, probably. I might, but probably not. And it's like, oh shit, what a waste.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of kicked me into gear about it. And then I spent, a year or two just kind of, anytime I went out, I was like, if I had a good set, I'd be like, okay, that's probably going on the album. And I just had a Google Notes thing that I would throw it in there, and I was like sloppily putting it together. And then, eventually felt close enough to having it that I like pulled the trigger and like asked to book a venue.
Is it too soon, because it hasn't been released yet, but like to say like, what are your regrets, or what would you definitely do the same
about this specific album?
Yeah. Oh
man, I have very few regrets. I really like it. I think I might look back in a few years and have some. I think it was really hard to, because you're trying to capture this feeling of it being in the moment. It can be really hard for a special or an album to feel how it felt on the night. And I used to just be confused as to why people couldn't do that. And then when you're in the editing process, you realize like you can't just, you'd think the trick to that is just leave it raw. You're like, well, if it felt great on the night, just don't touch it. And that's not the trick. Because you are going to there's a lot of stuff you do live that's necessary live that doesn't translate to a recording, video or audio. There's vamping you do. Sometimes you can just tell the crowd needs a second, so you purposefully meander for a bit to get their attention back and then finish the joke. But on a recording, that meandering just makes you tune out and it's not engaging. And so you have to cut it in a way that recreates that feeling of having been there live without cutting too much that it sounds like inhuman and too choppy, but without leaving in so much that it just sounds sloppy and messy and all over the place.
That's very interesting too.
It's a real weird bit of like alchemy you have to hit to get that feeling. And I think we got there, but you also listen to it so many times it's hard to tell. But there was one time I listened where I was like, I think we got it. Even if it never sounds like this to me again, I think this is the way that a person will hear it. And I'll never hear it this way again, and I haven't. The next time I listened, I was like, nah, never mind, it sucks. It sucks and I'm useless. But, and I am working on my negative self-talk. So anyway, all of that to say, maybe the only regret would be I ended up cutting some riffs that were really fun because there was just so many riffs already. And my written stuff sounds enough like riffs that it can just be too much to where... yeah, you're not sure. It's like, what kind of audience member should you picture listening to it? Somebody who loves you to death, or somebody who's like, who's this fucking guy? And if I'm thinking of that, who's this fucking guy? There's so much you're gonna cut. You're gonna get rid of so many there. And I wonder if I was too worried about somebody with a real critical eye listening to it. You maybe want to hit somewhere in the middle. Someone who likes your style of comedy but doesn't know who you are yet. I think that's what you should aim for.
That makes sense.
But I wonder sometimes if I was too worried about, like, you know, the people who decide what gets put on the radio. I was maybe worried about them a little bit, and I cut a little more than I would have wanted to just for the sake of, like,
and I do
is this
think
marketable?
Everyone thinks about it, how it would do on the radio.
Because you can make some real money that way. It's hard to
even just
ignore
like
that.
Someone said to me, you can't have a callback because... like
Sure.
if this track calls back to another one and then it doesn't make sense, you can still have it on your album, but it's not going to go on the radio.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I want most of my material to be a usable radio track because I could get paid.
Yeah. But you don't, it's such a bummer because you don't want to, what people will do, and it's a lot of extra work, is do a cut specifically to submit to the radio and a cut for their fans and friends to listen to, like an extended version that's more how you wanted it, and then a version that's, I think you can do a callback as long as it stands on its own, which actually, again, not to get too much into my rules for comedy, because there aren't rules, but I personally think a callback isn't worth it unless it stands on its own. If it's only funny because it references the thing before, it's kind of just like, remember I said that, versus like, oh, it's funny and it's extra funny because they were talking about their kitty cat earlier. I know they're calling their pussy a kitty cat. That's smart.
That might be the right rule.
Yeah, well, there's no right rules, but that's how I feel about it. Sometimes you listen to, I'll notice in a podcast a lot, where there's just people that are addicted to, you bring up 3 or 4 things in the first couple minutes, and it's like they're not even having a conversation anymore. They're just on callback alert. They're just on, you brought up candy bars in the start, and then they go, oh, probably because you had a candy bar in your pocket that whole time. Yeah. You bring up like that kid's like, you know, well, they're probably because you got that candy bar in your pocket. You're giving them bites of that. Whatever. That's a beautiful, perfect callback.
I hate shit like that.
Yeah, it makes you like see through to the bones of comedy, and it's not magical anymore. You're like, oh, that is what we're all just doing. I don't like to do less. Yeah.
Okay, so we're coming to the end.
Okay.
How can we find your album?
It's, I think, basically everywhere. Wait, I can get an exact list.
Is it out already? No, it comes out.
Well, when does this podcast come out?
So
my album comes out on the 20th.
This is going to come out on the 25th.
It'll be out.
So
my album is out.
It's out.
It's out, and you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and Tidal.
Amazing.
Or, yeah, and Bandcamp, I always say, is the best one.
And what's the title of the album?
It's called You Gotta Get Used to the Boy.
You Gotta Get Used to the Boy.
Uh-huh.
And, sorry, Bandcamp is the best.
Bandcamp's the best one because they give the highest percentage to the artist. Bandcamp is not a streaming... I think you can stream on there. But it's you go on there and, like, buy the full album... I mean, truly
There's
listen to it however.
also like a Bandcamp day every
it's,
quarter.
I don't know if it's every Friday. I think it's one Friday a month. 100% of the profit goes to the artist. So if you're looking to support the most, that's how to do it. But truly just put it on anywhere. And if you like it, tell me. And if you don't like it, don't tell me. No, you're valid, and that's okay. There's a lot of reasons to not like it, but I don't want to hear about it. You're just not. I don't like you either. Right to camera. That's how I feel.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for being on, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.